Hello, and welcome to 12-Minute Meditation, a weekly podcast from Mindful and mindful.org that offers mindfulness meditations backed by neuroscience. Research shows that just 12 minutes of meditation a day can yield benefits like increased attention, focus, creativity, calm, resilience, and compassion. So on this podcast, we invite you to explore 12-minute guided meditations from today's leading mindfulness experts. I'm Siri Myram, editor at Mindful and mindful.org. Forgiveness is almost never a one-and-done action. Whether what we're forgiving is big or small, our own error or someone else's. Most often, there are residual feelings of anger, hurt, or resentment to contend with. In this guided practice, Mark Bertin addresses this tendency to compound our suffering when we hang on to these difficult emotions. He offers a way to gently surrender this extra emotional baggage so that we can fully experience the healing that forgiveness offers. Dr. Mark Bertin is a pediatrician, author, professor, and mindfulness teacher specializing in neurodevelopmental behavioral pediatrics. You can find him at developmentaldoctor.com. Ready to practice? Here's Mark Bertin.
This is a little longer than a 10-minute mindfulness practice to foster forgiveness in everyday life. Two monks are walking down the road. They arrive at a muddy stream crossing, and a well-dressed woman declares without introduction, "Don't just stand there. Someone carry me across this mess." Without pause, the older monk lifts her across. She says nothing, not even a thank you. The two monks walk all day. The whole time, the younger one stews in his mind. How could he pick her up? We're not supposed to touch women or even talk to them. And she was so rude. Somebody should say something to her. She didn't deserve our help. Finally, arriving at the inn for dinner, he can't hold himself back. "What were you thinking? She was nasty and you broke the rules, and she didn't even say thank you." The older monk smiles gently and replies, "Wow, I put that woman down hours ago, but you've been carrying her all this time." So what does that mean in real life? We make mistakes. Other people make mistakes. We do things to others. Others do things to us. There's an actual experience that can be trivial or even traumatic. We add to the suffering with judgment, anger, and blame. It's sometimes referred to as adding a second arrow after being struck by a first. Something unpleasant happens, but then we add more to the experience. Forgiveness isn't the same as condoning ourselves or anyone else for misbehavior. But we so easily hold ourselves infinitely responsible, often for experiences utterly out of our control or from decades past. With forgiveness, we make amends when needed, but let go of the extra baggage. We give ourselves the same benefit of the doubt we'd offer a close friend. On the other hand, we sometimes allow someone else to influence our lives long after they've gone in a similar fashion. Another driver cuts us off in traffic, putting us in danger, and then speeds off. The driver arrives at brunch and relaxes, but we make our own coffee break bitter, dwelling in our own anger. It's a concept that holds across larger situations too. Anger and resentment simmer and grow, while compassionate resolve allows us to address what needs addressing without slinging additional arrows. Let's start now with a few minutes of sitting. Find yourself a comfortable posture, or take a moment lying on the floor or a bed. Bring your attention now for a few moments to the physical sensation of breathing. Noting whatever's grabbing your attention, or whatever you're feeling now. And without judgment, bringing your attention back to the rising and falling of your breath. Now picture, if it's useful to the practice, something that comes to mind that you judge yourself for. Maybe you feel regret or irritation or sadness. Notice how it feels even bringing it to mind. Then focus on these phrases, not forcing anything, but setting an intention. I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive myself for making mistakes. I forgive myself for causing pain and suffering to myself and others. And bringing your attention back again. I forgive myself for not understanding. I forgive myself for making mistakes. I forgive myself for causing pain and suffering to myself and others. For a few moments, instead of the breath, using those phrases as a focus for your attention. This type of practice may become too painful. At any time, without judging yourself, come back and focus on the breath. Allow yourself to settle and return when you're ready, now or maybe sometime in the future. Of course, our mind naturally holds on to instances where we feel mistreated by others. There may be experiences that were entirely wrong or traumatic or that concretely require our attention or action. At the same time, we can practice avoiding the second arrow. I forgive you for not understanding. I forgive you for making mistakes. I forgive you for causing pain and suffering to me and to others. Letting go of the tendency to add resentment and judgment and everything related to challenging and unpleasant situations. Again, if it's too much to consider, return to breathing, or if you prefer, focusing on compassion for yourself instead. I forgive you for not understanding. I forgive you for making mistakes. I forgive you for causing pain and suffering to me and to others. Practices of this kind can be quite challenging. So in these last few moments, on each in-breath, noticing and accepting whatever you feel right now. And on each out-breath, as you would for a close friend, offering yourself relief or freedom or strength or whatever first comes to mind. Forgiveness doesn't mean being passive or not taking action. It doesn't mean standing down when we need to protect ourselves or someone else from harm. Do what needs to be done and continue to practice forgiveness. Over and over again, letting go of whatever holds you back.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of 12-Minute Meditation from Mindful and mindful.org. I hope you enjoyed practicing with us today. Sign up for our free newsletter at mindful.org/signup, and if you'd like to explore additional related content and meditations, check the show notes for links.